In this video, we're going to be talking about carbs and how they aren't the enemy. Hey, we're Michael and Kristina, and we're here to help you see how simple your health can really be. So today we're going to be talking about carbohydrates a little bit more. We've been talking a lot about it lately in this past week, and how carbohydrates are often seen as the problem when it comes to diets, when it comes to weight gain and all that stuff. And we've been trying to debunk that as much as possible. We've talked a lot about sugar and how sugar is a carbohydrate and how that contributes to a lot of problems. And we wanted to share a little bit more about our stories with regards to carbohydrates and how that kind of has led us to where we currently are now, and the beliefs that we currently have around how carbohydrates are basically a necessity and necessary for our day-to-day life, right?
And how we love them.
So what's your favorite carbohydrate?
My favorite carbohydrate is pasta.
Pasta. What kind of pasta?
Spinach fettuccine with like a really nice hearty home-cooked sauce full of vegetables and beans and nutritional yeast.
The healthiest version of pasta that you can get.
What's for dinner tonight?
I would say that my favorite type of carb is probably pasta as well. Actually, funny story, when I was growing up, I used to crush pasta, and my parents used to call me noodle.
Oh yeah, I was wondering why they call you that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, I don't know. But it was like when I was younger, I would just love them. They were just so tasty. Mind you, I remember a lot of them were like white noodles and stuff like that. And I just, probably because I never felt satisfied, I kept eating them and eating them. But they were so tasty and so good. But the type of noodle that I really liked, with I think was penne. And not the skinny long ones with like the diagonal cut, but like the thick ones that are like a little bit shorter. Do you know those ones?
It's like a tube.
Yeah, like a thick tube. You can almost stick your pinky in it, like the whole thing. Because then
eat them like that too.
Right? And you can like scoop it up with a fork really easy, or even like whenever you have like a sauce or whatever in it, like all the good stuff like goes in it, and it's almost like a little cannoli, or what's it called?
Yeah, cannoli.
Cannoli?
I think.
Those are super dope. They're like a mouthful though, because they're massive noodles, but those are definitely my favorite. Noodle.
Carbs, man. I've always loved carbs, and for me it's just a way to really ground myself after like a long day, having a nice bowl of pasta or some bread. It's just, for me, yeah, that grounding aspect, that my ability to feel really comforted. But I always had this voice in the back of my head that was saying like, don't eat carbs, carbs are the enemy. And I had a lot of girlfriends who were cutting out carbs, a lot of coworkers who would come to work and say, you know, oh man, I ate like way too many carbs over the weekend, I'm gonna cut them all out. And then I started to learn, you were actually the one who told me about the difference between simple carbs and complex carbs, right? The carbs that what I used to eat was the white pasta, the white bread. I remember when we first met, you came over to my place and my cabinets were like stocked with the emergency pasta fund.
I mean, they're cheap, right? So
they
why not?
are.
Yeah.
It's super cheap, until I finally realized that I can eat pasta, but in a way that actually nourishes my body and makes me feel good, but I'm not necessarily eating the simple carbs, so like the white pastas and the white breads, which, yeah, they do make you feel bloated, and they don't make you feel really amazing. And actually, during my master's, Mike would, after every hard day, I would like text and be like, today was a hard day. And like, lo and behold, I would come home and he would have like a bowl of pasta ready for me, and I was like, oh, freaking love
It's
him.
comforting food,
It
right?
is.
Like, why would you want to limit yourself from comforting food? Like, you want to be comfortable, especially when you have a stressful day. It's grounding,
Yeah.
right? It makes you feel more grounded and more like whole, right?
So that's pretty much it. What I've learned to do is really love carbs as a way to balance me, and not see them as something that I need to guilt myself for or shame myself for eating bread or pasta or, you know, all this like really hearty carbs that I love, but really being able to say like, what does my body need? And today it needs carbs, and that's awesome. And being able to feed it the carbs that are actually going to nourish it.
Right, and a lot of people don't know the difference between the carbs. And I mean, carbs are like, everything is basically a carb. Like there's so many things that have an intertwined combination of like carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. But like there's so many different types of carbs, right? Like people are like, oh, I can't have carbs. Oh, that sounds really bright. Right on my face. So carbs are basically in so many different things. Like broccoli is a carb. Cauliflower is a carb, but like so is candy, so is cake, so is fruit. Pineapples, like bread, like there's so many things. And even like certain foods that have a combination of, like I said, proteins and fats also have carbs in it as well. So like avocados have a lot of fat in it, but it's also considered, somewhat of a carb because it has carbohydrates in it. So it's like confusing. Like, how do you not eat carbohydrates? It's like you can't. They're basically in everything. So why would you even try to like limit yourself from eating it?
Yeah, and why we see carbs as something that we need to eliminate when really it's just understanding the difference between the carbs that we're actually trying to cut out, which don't serve us, like the white rice, which really just acts, more about this. It acts as sugar in the body.
Yeah, basically all of those like white type, like quick or fast acting carbs. But basically, yeah, like those white foods are not genetically, they're refined in such a way that it's pulled out, they pull out the fibers, they pull out the nutrients to basically make this new product or this whiter product. So it's not even the original type of food that's created. And
that's crazy.
I know, right? And then they enrich it afterwards and like add some of the nutrients back in. But it's like, why would you even mess with it? It probably has something to do with money and how it's like easier to manufacture. Who knows? The point is that you don't need that stuff. You go for the whole foods, the more complex carbs, the slower carbs, the ones that have fiber in it, because it's just so much better for you. Plus it makes you feel more full, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't end up crushing a crap ton of white bread or whatever. What's your least favorite carb?
I'm not really a big fan of buckwheat.
That's a tough one. Buckwheat. Like, my mom makes real nice buckwheat pancakes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only time I'll eat is if my mom prepares it because she knows how to do it. Otherwise, I look at that and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
Doesn't really tickle my fancy.
Yeah. She probably adds a lot of sugar into it to make it taste better. I don't know. I like carbs.
I like carbs.
You like carbs, let's be honest. Like, everybody loves carbs. So, why cut them out? I'm not going to cut them out. You?
No.
You shouldn't cut them out either. Enjoy them. Just
love them.
Choose the better options. There's always healthier alternatives. And if you don't have those healthier alternatives, you can eat the white ones too. That's cool. Just know that, or be aware of what you're eating so that you can at least educate yourself in the way that knowing, oh, I'm having something with a little bit more fiber, it's probably a better choice. But having the other one is not the end of the world. So eat your carbs.
You'll live.
Don't do keto, unless it's short-lived.
Are you a keto basher?
I'm not a keto basher.
Secretly.
I'm a pro-carber.
Pro-carber. Oh, I like that. I'm a pro-carber too.
There you go. Keto basher.
Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.